Another school year, another week, another Thursday this time, not Wednesday, and another episode. This is your host, Troy Schrader, coming back at you with a new episode of the Crescent Sports Report, here with my co-host, Evan Barr.
How we doing?
No Austin Hernandez this year. Unfortunately, he graduated. Austin, we miss you. We love you. He's going to be listening to this episode. He texted me asking when we're going to have another episode. My brother Cole is not here because he's studying for an exam, so we'll see how that goes for him. So obviously, over the summer, you have a whole lot of sports going on, but I feel like if you try to recap everything that happens over the past 5 or 6 months or whatever, it's just hard to do. So I think we're going to try to prioritize what's going on now currently, give like a little recap on other things that have been going on, such as MLB. I'll do a little rundown on that, and then maybe Evan and I will go over our picks for who we thought were going to win the division in an episode from last year. So obviously NBA news, Damian Lillard traded to the Bucks. That was a 3-way deal, correct? Suns, Bucks, Blazers?
Yes, and I thought every team is the better for it. I thought overall that was a spectacular NBA trade. Obviously, Lillard and Giannis, that should just be fireworks to no end. I think it's nerve-wracking for the Bucks because they're kind of buying into just that star power team. They lost a lot of core pieces. And Drew Holiday, that was a lot of veteran leadership, a lot of defense. Grayson Allen, you can hate him, you can love him, but solid role player, knew his spot, played hard, that kind of stuff. And for the Suns to pick up guys like Nurkic and Allen, I mean, that's a team with zero depth, and they just picked up 2 perfect guys. Got rid of the whiny boy Ayton, so that was a just great move for the Suns as well because that was their whole thing. They needed a new team to fill around those 3 dudes, and then, I mean, the Blazers are just like, screw it, we're just going to rebuild. So
Yeah, looking at this, I really just don't know if there are any losers because, like you said, the Suns get their depth, the Bucks get their second superstar, which, I mean, they've won one with just one superstar, but I think, and I'm not classifying Chris Middleton as a superstar at all, so you could have 2 superstars and a star. DeAndre Ayton wins. All right, so DeAndre Ayton wins definitely because he's out of Phoenix. He hated it. The Suns hated him. I think the one loser of this is Drew Holiday, but I don't think he sticks with the Blazers.
He's not going to stay there. They're definitely going to trade him away. I kind of hope he goes to the Heat. And I also heard he could possibly be going to Boston, which would be a really good fit because obviously they were stupid to get rid of Marcus Smart.
Yeah, I was curious what the hell they were doing with that trade.
Yeah, they had no real defenders. They had no soul on their team other than him. And so what do? You go get Kristaps Porzingis, who is not a soul player at all, doesn't command a locker room, has no leadership ability.
It feels like he was just the Walmart version of what they already had in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And it's whenever you have those guys that can't command a locker room, why are you getting rid of your veteran leader, the guy that has like the most tenure, and he's your biggest glue guy while also doing all the little things right? They're like, yeah, let's just go ahead and get rid of the big reason why our team's successful.
Yeah, I didn't get that move at all. I thought it was great for Memphis because hopefully he can kind of corral John Morant and fix that situation. But yeah, losing that out of Boston I thought was stupid. I will say I do hope, so Drew Holiday, I really like him to the Heat. I really like him to the Clippers as well, even though the Clippers are a piece of crap on their own with all the whatevers. But if they can somehow get rid of Westbrook and bring in Drew Holiday, I feel that being a very beneficial situation for them just because it brings in, I mean, good offensive player. He can actually hit a jump shot, which Westbrook can't. He plays really good defense. He plays all the time. He doesn't take off days. So I could see that being a really big help for them. They say Paul George and Kawhi are both healthy. We'll see what happens. But there's that whole, we'll get into the tampering of the resting and all that kind of stuff that they put in.
I'm curious to see if the Celtics are maybe playing chess, not checkers, and they just knew a deal like this was going to happen, and they traded away Marcus Smart, being like, Drew Holiday is going to be available.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to keep Marcus Smart to make that deal? Because what are the Blazers going to do with like Porzingis if he was supposedly just trade bait for that? Because they didn't really get anything positive out of the Marcus Smart situation. So
maybe they think that they can keep Porzingis and add Drew Holiday. And then you've got Holiday, Brown, Tatum, and then Porzingis and probably Time Lord in your starting lineup.
I'm trying to think. I don't think they have any assets to give Portland, right? Because they have no young...
Derek White, Peyton Pritchard. I don't know what picks they own.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to... We'll pay attention to it, but I still think the Heat's probably the best spot for Drew Holiday. I think he fits into that kind of culture. He's a big, strong dude who glorifies defense. he would just be the perfect fit for down
Oh,
there.
easy. I agree. I think that Dame, everyone was talking about that. I don't know if Dame would be the actually. I don't know. I feel like Dame doesn't fit their play style, but locker room definitely. Like Dame finally has run from the grind, but Miami's all about that grind. So I think
Yeah.
Dame would have been a good fit locker room wise, but play style, I feel like it just doesn't mesh the same way it does with Milwaukee. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's not perfect to the sense of how Dame has always played, which has been, yeah, you're on a crap team, just go score points. So I kind of get that to some degree, but I also think it would be helpful to have somebody that can, similar to Tyler Hero, but obviously much more refined, much more talented, much higher skill, better playmaking ability than Tyler Hero has, just to get the ball to Jimmy Butler's hands every once in a while. Because for a while there, I mean, Jimmy Butler is so good, and as a basketball person that loves strategy and loves watching the behind the scenes parts of the game, not just the exciting parts, I don't understand how Jimmy Butler works as a basketball player on offense. It just does not make sense because he's not a great ball handler. He's really, really strong, not super fast, understands kind of the ebbs and flows of the game, but he's not like a tactician, sort of like DeMar DeRozan. I just do not understand how he makes everything work for himself. So that would be the only thing. I wouldn't necessarily know if Dame would be the perfect fit because I don't know if having somebody that could take the ball out of his hand to that extent would be good for Jimmy, or if it would hurt Jimmy, or if I just honestly have no idea how that would fit. And we're never going to get to, so it doesn't matter anyway. But
Yeah, I think that keeping Jimmy as your primary ball handler, like you kind of have to like running things through him. Like obviously there are other guys around him, but I think that it's just a much better fit in Milwaukee because it feels like Dame and Giannis can kind of play off of each other. Like Giannis doesn't really shoot; he drives in a ton, he can dish out, he sees open men.
that pick and roll is going to be
Oh,
unbelievable.
yes.
Because you can even do it both ways with Lopez. And Lopez can pop, Giannis can roll. They could both roll. I mean, Giannis can pop and then get a guy off balance, drive right past him. So the screen and roll, screen and pop, that whole thing is going to be insane if they figure out how to do that right. Or the guy that's on guarding Dame could be like, okay, well, I know a screen's coming, kind of start bumping the screen, and then Dame pulls up from 40 feet and just drills a three. So, like, I don't know what you're going to do.
Exactly. It's not like Giannis is what he was when he was 19. He can shoot at least a little bit. So if you do a pick and pop, it's not like the big guy can't just be like, screw it, let him drive. Like, I'll give him the shot. He's going to hit some of those that you have to at least get a hand up or at least get a step out on him.
Yeah, because you can't leave him, because if you leave him, even if he's on the three and he doesn't want to take the three, your defense, if you sag all the way in and play all the way off of him to stop Dame on the drive, and he pops, your big man's obviously going to run back. Your guard's obviously running back to help cover. You kick it out to Giannis. So then you have a big man trying to either run out to Giannis, or if he wants to stay back, well, then you got Giannis coming at you like a freight train, which that doesn't work either. So I don't know how teams are going to guard that. I'd be interested to see if teams maybe try and zone it a little bit, or if they switch off into maybe we start seeing more head screen, ice screens, that kind of stuff, which I would love to see, but we'll see what happens. I'm interested.
So who do you think is the biggest threat to beat the Bucks in the Eastern Conference right now?
Ooh.
I had a friend that was talking to me about it. As soon as the Damian Lillard trade news broke, I just opened up my phone or text my friend that said, fuck, 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 fuck.
So it's not Philly until they make a move to get rid of Harden and rebuild that team up a little bit. They need two more pieces. They need to get rid of Harden, and they need to make Max either a point guard. So it's not Philly. I don't think it's Miami unless they get Drew Holiday. But, Miami just keeps beating people that they shouldn't, so maybe they still... Again, not a threat necessarily to Milwaukee, I don't think. Even they just beat Milwaukee as an 8 seed, so Miami's always going to be what Miami is. I would have to say the Celtics, just because they're the only team talent-wise that can match them. But Milwaukee has championship pedigree. The Celtics lost, but, they've been to the finals, but they're extremely young, bringing in sort of a star in Porzingis to an already set-up organization, along with all the new coaching and that kind of stuff, so Boston's always going to have their problems. But if I had to say one team that I think would actually give them a run, it would be Boston. And the more I look at the season, I have no idea who, the surprise out of the East is going to be. Like how Sacramento was last year. Everybody kind of knew they were going to finally start getting better, but no one thought they were going to be as good as they were. I have no idea who was going to come out of the East and bump, because it's not going to be the Pacers. It's not going to be the Bulls. It's not going to be Orlando. It's not going to be Charlotte.
I think it could be Charlotte.
Really?
I think so. LaMelo Ball is electric.
They're getting Bridges back, right?
They should be getting Bridges back. They just had the number 2 pick in the draft. Mark Williams looked very good in the short stint that they had him playing without Plumlee. I think the 2 years ago when they had Bridges and LaMelo Ball, they were playing team. Last year, LaMelo missed over half the season with an injury. Miles Bridges did not play. You had the number 2 pick in the draft, and you add all 3 of them back this year. I'm not saying they're going to be the Kings where they could be like, oh shit, they could actually realistically make the championship. But I think that the Hornets are no longer a team that's just going to be like sitting at the bottom of the conference and then barely sneaking into the play-in.
I think they'll be better than that, but I just don't see them taking that kind of jump that Sacramento did. So Sacramento took the big jump this year or last year, and then this year it's about refining into possibly becoming a chaser for the championship. I could see the Hornets taking, I don't know if they're ready for that big of a jump that Sacramento made, but I could see them making sort of a similar jump where they may have to take it in 2 jumps before they can refine.
Yeah.
Because I think they just need a couple more years of experience. They might need one more good veteran piece. But also, like, Gordon Hayward's an important part of that team, and he's getting up there in age. And so
33 currently.
Yeah, so that's something that you may need to keep an eye on. But, again, like, you guys still have P.J. Washington, too, right?
P.J. Washington.
I like how he plays. And, obviously, when you have a guy like LaMelo on there, and if Bridges comes back and does what he did beforehand, that'll be extremely valuable. So I could see Charlotte making some waves. But, again, I don't see them anywhere near one of the threats of the East.
I don't think they're as
but
young.
They could.
I don't think they're as young as what they were in the past. Obviously, as you get older, like every year, team's going to get a little bit older. But in the past, it was like, oh, LaMelo's in his second, third year. Now LaMelo's been in the league for a few years, so it's like you can't really call him like inexperienced. You have important vet pieces. You have P.J. Washington, Miles Bridges, Gordon Hayward. I mean, Terry Rozier. Obviously, Washington and Bridges not on that level of Scary Terry and Gordon Hayward. But I do like the pieces. I mean, you've even got solid bench guys. Like they got Amari Bailey, Leaky Black's a glue guy. I mean, he was not. I mean, I don't know how he'll do in the NBA, but like he was a solid glue guy in college. They've never really given James Bouknight a chance. Maybe he does something this year. I don't know. But I think really their only thing that concerns me looking at their roster is probably maybe their big depth. Because Nick Richards looks like their only guy on their bench currently. Probably P.J. Washington if you run like Williams at the 5 and then Bridges at the 4. But yeah, I think Nick Richards might be their biggest if, but like he's not a bad backup. Like I think that on paper their roster looks a lot better than what their record has shown.
And you can always just run small ball too. So like if things don't work out, you can always run small ball and be fine. I'm looking through like the playoff race from last year. So you got Milwaukee and Boston at the top, obviously. You got Philly up at the top. I think they're taking a step back unless they can figure out some offseason moves. Cleveland disappointed me so much.
I think Cleveland could do it this year,
I
though.
hope they do. I hope they figure it out, but I don't know what happened to them last year. I mean, yes, it was the first year with Donovan Mitchell, kind of the new star thing, so I'm really hoping that Garland takes another step, Mitchell stays
Mobley
where
can
he's
take another step.
Especially, if Mobley can get another step, that'll be big. So I could see Cleveland possibly maybe getting up there. I see nothing out of New York. They need another star.
No.
It's New York.
I mean,
Brooklyn,
Jalen Brunson was pretty good. But
they need someone else. Julius Randle can't be your second best player.
Julius Randle's not bad. Was he an All-Star last year?
I don't know.
I thought he was.
But even he can't be. He's a great player, but he can't be your second best player, and he's proved that because they haven't done anything.
Yeah, so, I think that they definitely need some more pieces around that. Yeah. Like Brunson Randle does enough to get you the 5 seed, but it doesn't do enough to get you much more than that.
Yeah, and then you look at the 6 seed is Brooklyn. They have no talent, and yet they win. I love Bridges, but
yeah,
I don't really see much going on there with Brooklyn. Atlanta, I have no trust in Atlanta.
I think Atlanta could they're so streaky and so momentum based that like we saw them make the conference finals a few years back.
I don't know. I think I think that year, the year after they made that big push, beat the Knicks, all that kind of stuff, that next year was the year that they were going to have to vault, and they didn't and took a step back. And so I think that they've kind of screwed up a lot of that young talent core that they did.
I agree.
I'm really hoping they figure it out because I really like a lot of their players, but I think they missed their window, and it's going to come back to haunt.
I think that, say you get a possible Hawks-Bucks matchup, I mean, no one in the league is really guarding Giannis, but you could put probably DeAndre Hunter. You could probably put Okonkwo. You've got and then Clint Capella. They don't have John Collins anymore, so he's not obviously can't match up with Giannis.
He wasn't really doing anything last year.
Yeah, exactly. I think you could probably put Dejounte Murray on on Dame. And then if it turns into a shootout, Trae Young is probably one of the first top 5 guys you'd want to have on your team in an offensive shootout game. And I think that the Hawks have a possibility to turn that into that. And once they get hot, they're so hard to stop, and that's evidenced by a few years ago. Granted, a little bit of a different team, but I think they still have the core pieces that keep it relatively the same so that you have faith that it can still happen.
Yeah, Atlanta's just one of those teams. You get them in the playoff, they could upset a team. The problem is, are they going to
also look fucking terrible?
Yeah, exactly. They could also completely implode on themselves, which happens a lot. And again, in a 7-game series, I just don't see them taking games off of Miami or Milwaukee or Boston or Miami for that matter. So I don't see that happening. Toronto, I never know what Toronto's going to do. Washington's no good. Orlando's no good. Charlotte hopefully kind of boosts up a little bit. I think Detroit will be better this year because they're getting Cade Cunningham back healthy. Jaden Ivey proved he was pretty good. They picked up, I hope they can figure out how to develop Wiseman properly because they picked up Wiseman from the Warriors. Mm-hmm. So I really, really hope that they can kind of figure it out.
And they got Osar with the 5th pick.
Yeah, they did. And the Thompson twins both look really good.
We can't forget Killian Hayes because he's a stud.
Yeah, he's good too. So they have all these young, really good guys, and so they kind of remind me of OKC because I hope OKC also takes a big step because they've got the Cade Cunningham, they've got that guy, they've got Jaden Ivey, they got some other guys on there that are good, solid, hopefully explosive players. So if they can just figure out how to actually win more than 17 games, I could see them actually being pretty solid this year.
Have you seen those videos about Killian Hayes where they joke about how he has one play where he looks like an all-star level basketball player and the next play where he just looks like he's never played basketball in his life? Like the one where he takes the floater and just shoots it over the backboard, or he'll go to make a regular pass, throw it 12 rows deep in the stands, and the next play breaks the dude down and then throws a nasty lob or does some crazy
It's like
leg.
J.R. Smith and JaVale McGee, right? They're the Shaqtin' a Fool Kings, but then you watch their highlight reel and think they're perennial all-stars.
Yeah. I love J.R. Smith. He's just such a good time. I don't know. I miss seeing him in the league. It sucks to see old guys retire like that, but obviously it comes every year. So what you going to do? But
looking out west, they're just so stacked. Because obviously Denver. If Memphis figures out Ja's crap than Memphis, Sacramento. I think Sacramento will be a better team, but take a step back overall because of all these other teams that are taking steps. Obviously Phoenix. I'm very interested to see if Phoenix turns into a Brooklyn Nets superstar thing or if it's the next Heatles. Clippers, they're either going to be healthy and good or not healthy and suck. Golden State, I think the window's finally closed on them. Lakers got a lot better this year. I love them getting Cameron Wood. I hate the Lakers.
Christian Wood?
Yeah, Christian Wood. I hate the Lakers, but he is a great pickup because they got him cheap. Everybody always says he puts no effort in, and that's why he hasn't exploded as a player, but he has all the talent and all the ability. And playing in a system like LA with LeBron basically running the show, he's going to improve. So I thought that was the best pickup.
People hate on Christian Wood a lot, which sometimes it may be warranted, but I think the fact that other teams were using him as their second best player, first best player, back when he was maybe with the Rockets or the Pistons or whatever. But now that you've got him in Los Angeles and you have LeBron ahead of him, AD ahead of him, probably D'Lo or Austin Reeves ahead of him, you have him as a 4th, 5th, 6th option guy. I think he's so much more viable, and that's huge. Like you said, you pick him up on the cheap, and then you see that he's done what he can do. That's a huge thing to have for a 6th guy and at big depth when beforehand the only guy they had was Mo Bamba, who's terrible, and Anthony Davis, who breaks his ankle.
Not a 5.
Yeah, and he breaks his ankle every time he steps up the stairs.
Yeah. But, yeah, and again, they really just need him to be a lob and defensive guy because they've got, obviously, you have LeBron. They still have D'Lo, offensive-minded point guard. They have Reeves, who showed in the FIBA World Cup that he's a dog and can score the points that they need. You got Hachimura, good offensive player. So they've got enough offense that I think they really just needed a solid defensive rebounding lob threat, which is exactly what Christian Wood is good at. So it's a place to succeed. So
And they've got a lot of glue guys too. Cam Reddish. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
taking a flyer on him is a good thing. I think that he could develop into something that is a good fit for them. Jared Vanderbilt, really like him. Gabe Vincent. They've got a lot of Torian Prince stuff like that. Like they've got
Gabe
a lot of
Vincent was
guys
a
that
great pickup.
yeah, that you go out there and it's like they're doing all the little things right, and your team is so much better for it. But like in the box score, it doesn't show. But you
Yep.
realize that they play winning basketball.
Yep. No, they have the Lakers. I feel like should be a top 3 seed in the West and should probably, depending on what happens with Phoenix and if Denver can sustain what they did last year. If Denver does not sustain what they did last year and Phoenix doesn't become the Heatles, the Lakers should be in the finals. Like the team that they have, they should be, unless LeBron just finally gets old. But
I think that LeBron's play, like his level of play, is not going to drop. But with the new rules stating how like you can't sit out or on certain games and stuff like that, you have to play more. I think it's going to increase his workload, and then I think we might see LeBron be a little bit more injured this year. Like I don't know if his number of games played will drop, but I think it's just going to take a larger toll on his body because he's like what 39 years old now.
I think they finally have the team to where he doesn't have to play every quarter. Like they can
Yes,
do.
he doesn't have to run out.
They should
38
be
minutes.
good enough that if they go hard for the first half, have a good third quarter, he can just not play the fourth quarter. Basically, do what like Steph did in 2016, where the Warriors, when they went 73-9, they would basically beat up by 25 at the end of the third quarter, and then Steph, Clay, Dre, and Iggy never played the fourth quarter. So there's a chance that they could kind of do something like that. Obviously, he's still going to get his rest anyway. Like, it doesn't stop him from getting his rest unless Anthony Davis is even more of a resting, which we know he is. But for Anthony Davis, they can at least say it's an injury because it's Anthony Davis. Who's going to say he's not injured?
Exactly.
But, yeah, I just think they're going to cut his minutes down. If they don't, they're idiots.
Yeah,
But-
I don't. I mean, if you're going to give that big of a workload to a 39-year-old, it's going to be LeBron. But you don't want to give that big of a workload to a 39-year-old.
You clearly do not understand anything around all of these analytics and numbers that everybody preaches on. And if they need LeBron to win enough games that they can't really rest him as much during games, then your team's not as good as you think it needs to be, and you need to do some work anyway.
Exactly. But I don't know. I think this is going to be interesting. It kind of feels like this year has a little bit more like parity before, where it's like you don't really know what's going to happen. I think that, the past few years is kind of like you kind of take your pick, but now it feels like the East is kind of, I don't know, two dominant teams, but there's still other teams you think like, oh no, it could make a run, and then the West is just very up for grabs.
It's just like how it was in like the golden age between 2012 to 2016 kind of, where in the East it's always just going to be the Heat or the Celtics or the Heat.
Whoever has LeBron.
Yeah, or the Cavs, and I don't even know who else. Pistons for a little bit there, and then out west you've got the Lakers, you got the Spurs, you got Dallas for a couple of years, you had OKC, that was good always. You had the Clippers, who were always great in the regular season, scaring people. So we'll see.
Yeah, just a lot of a plethora of options. So I think that it's going to be a good season to watch. But
Yep, I agree. As long as the basketball actually gets better.
Yeah, I agree. It's been tough to watch at some points. Like watching regular season games, I find it hard to watch. I think that the tournament though could do a little bit something though, like the in-season tournament, because that should, you would think hypothetically give them more of a reason to play and more of a reason to win certain games rather than you rest all of your players on certain days, or people just walk down and yuck threes and be like, fuck it, we don't care about this game.
We take responsibility for the play-in tournament. We talked about that last year on the podcast.
Exactly.
They
They listened to us,
Yep.
and Adam Silver's like, these 4 guys in Evansville, Indiana know exactly what they're talking about, and we are going to do exactly what they said.
Boom. I do like the way they're doing it, though. Like, mixing it up so it's not just division-based. They're, like, actually trying to, like, mix it up based on how good teams were last year to try and make the, like, mini-conference thingies fair. So I thought that was a kind of a cool idea. I wish they would have done it, though, like, mixing up East and West teams. Because you never really get to, like, make those East-West matchups more interesting in terms of that they're, like, now actually for something. Instead of just, oh, well, we're flying out to play the 2 LA teams this weekend. If we lose, we lose. Who cares? Go enjoy LA. Now it's like, we got to beat these guys because this matters. So I wish they would have intermixed both conferences for that. But again, having the East-West rivalry is still kind of fun too. So.
And I think that with this being the first year, they could definitely workshop it. Like this year, they kind of see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then once they realize, like, you're never going to put something out with the first product and it'd be like fantastic. Like they realize that there's going to be tweaks that need to be made after this year. And maybe that's one of them where they start to do that next year. And then after 2, 3, 4 years down the line, it's a far better product. And it's just exactly what they're going for.
Yeah. And then I tried to look up, I forget some of it, but like the reward. So that was the biggest one for me is like, how did they incentivize it? So here we go. So at the end of the in-season tournament, the NBA will name the most valuable player of the competition at the All-Star tournament. I think they get a certain amount of money for it, but I don't know if it constitutes to anything else. And that was the one thing we said that until, like, obviously the money incentivizing is good for a lot of players, but guys like LeBron, it doesn't matter. Like he if he doesn't want to play during this, he's not going to play during this. And honestly, I don't think there's any way you could, other than, well, maybe this year, because
this year you mandate you have to play in games that count for this tournament.
Yeah, and then also the whole, like, I could see it also because it's an inaugural season of this, that maybe guys do want to play it to be like, oh, I was the first guy to do, like, so like the first year that they made the All-Star trophy, the Kobe Bryant All-Star MVP and Kawhi won it. So like maybe since it's the first year of that, or like when Steph and I don't remember who out East won it. Jimmy Butler won, was it Jimmy? No, it was Jason Tatum. Won the Magic Johnson and Larry Bird trophies for like the most valuable player of the,
I thought it was Jimmy because it normally goes to the best player on the winning team.
Well, when
that was this past year.
Steph was the first one to get it.
I thought they just did that this past year was the
No,
first one.
they've
But didn't they just name it? Was it maybe they just named it this year?
They
Because it was
might
like
have named it,
Magic
but I know it
Johnson,
was-
Larry Bird, right?
Well, they did it because Steph was the first Magic Johnson like player of the Western Conference Finals or whatever, and then Tatum won the Larry Bird one, and then this year it was Jokic and Jimmy. Because I'm pretty sure Steph was the first person to ever win that one. Because that was the first year that they rebranded the trophy. They like changed the Larry O'Brien trophy a little bit. So that was the first year.
Yeah,
they
so
did all
the
that.
Larry Bird Trophy is awarded to the MVP from the Eastern Conference and the Magic Johnson Trophy from the Western Conference.
Yep.
So it's the most recent were Jimmy Butler and Jokic. So it goes to the best player.
But they did it during the 75th season. That's why it was Steph and Jason Tatum that year, because that was the 75th season. So that's why they did all that in the first place.
All right, that would make sense. I thought that this year was the past.
So I'm hoping, since it's the inaugural in-season tournament, hopefully everybody's like, all right, well, let's actually try and go win this thing, because if it ends up becoming a normal thing, people are going to look back, who's the first team to ever win an NBA championship, who's the first team to, or first player to win an MVP award, who's the first player to ever win the Finals MVP award, who's the first player to win the in-season tournament MVP. So accolades really matter in basketball, especially for guys that may be fringe Hall of Famers. People should be telling them, hey, this is something you need to go out for, because if you think you might get close to making the Hall of Fame, which doesn't matter to those guys, I don't care who says otherwise, having this on your resume looks just as good as having, because again, in basketball, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, not just the NBA Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame. So they look at everything. So like Olympic medals, all that kind of stuff, all play a role in getting into your Hall of Fame careers. So I'm hoping that kind of stuff will spur the players to really try and actually care about this. And I'm assuming that Adam Silver is like, hey guys, whether or not you want to do it, please do it this year, just so we can get it off the ground on its feet. We'll figure it out from here on out. Just please, this one year, just give in.
Yeah. I agree to all the points that Evan just said. I think that it's a good way to keep the players interested and motivated, just because maybe they need a little more of incentive, maybe draft picks based, or maybe something like that. I don't know, but I guess we'll see. We'll see after this year how incentivized they are, or what more needs to be added. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, going to segue this. I don't really have a good way to just make the transition first, though. We are going to leave a quick little break for our ad sponsors. A little message in case you want to sponsor a show or sponsor an episode or anything like that. So we'll leave a second here.
This portion of our podcast is brought to you by Insert Your Name or Company Here. Crescent.evansville.edu receives over 1,000 new visitors a month, and during that time receives nearly 6,000 page views. Become part of the student media family and advertise with us on our website, crescent.evansville.edu, or let us highlight you right here on this podcast, and we'll talk about your business, product, and or service.
So, I guess it's already been happening, this football season, 3 weeks deep now. We got another game tonight. Filmed this on Thursday, September 28th, Lions-Packers. I don't really know what to say about this football season. It feels like...
Well, that's because you're a Jets fan.
Yeah.
It got ruined after 4 snaps.
It felt like more after 4 snaps, I kind of transitioned to being like, okay, let's take in the season as a whole. Obviously, I'm still invested in Jets game, but all I can say is damn.
You're about to have to go buy a Trevor Siemian jersey. I'm hearing that's the guy they're looking for.
No. I am much higher. Not, I wouldn't say much higher, but much more optimistic about Zach Wilson than a lot of other Jets fans are. But if they don't stick with Zach Wilson this year, I think that they're crazy. Because coming into unless they know by week 7 or 8 that they're like, okay, after the season we're cutting our losses, we're getting rid of Zach, like there's no future for him here. I think they roll it out with him. But I don't know. I think that he has looked more promising than he has in the past. But I don't know. I think I saw an article the other day that kind of just like summed up everything that I was thinking that I kind of agreed with. But so this year, obviously coming into the season, high hopes, Aaron Rodgers. I think that when we did the record prediction last year, I said they were going to be like fucking 13-4 or something, and now they're 1-2, and Zach Wilson's the quarterback again.
Hey, that's one more win than they should have with Zach Wilson.
I don't know. Zach Wilson beat the Bills last year, so that one didn't really
That's true.
surprise me a ton. But I don't know. They do kind of have a relatively difficult schedule. I think the Patriots are always going to be difficult to beat whenever you have an inexperienced like quarterback or someone that's just not fully confident in their abilities, because Bill Belichick is just going to eat them alive. So,
agreed.
But the article said that Jets fans can blame whoever the hell they want for this season going down the shitter, but Zach Wilson is the one person that you cannot blame, because A, his confidence issues are obviously evident. I mean, he plays games and he looks skittish, he looks nervous, he's taking sacks without even getting touched. He just falls over and gets tapped down. That happened in the Patriots game. You can tell based off of his interactions with other players in the locker room, based off of his press conferences, that the confidence is just not there. So you continuing to just like scream at him and tell him that you know best and that he's terrible and he's ruining this team is not going to help at all. And then also coming into this year with Aaron Rodgers supposed to be the starting quarterback, Zach Wilson was not getting the reps with the first team. He was not getting the reps that he should have been to be quarterback one, which obviously no one foresaw the Aaron Rodgers incident coming. But now he's not fully prepared. And how are you going to yell at Zach Wilson for playing like a backup quarterback when he is the backup quarterback? Like, people are screaming at him like he's the next coming of Christ, or like he's supposed to be the next best quarterback in this franchise. But realistically, he's the backup quarterback.
So to combat that, I agree with a lot of what you said. I will counter, you are the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, and it's been, 3 years in the league now?
This is his 3rd year.
We should start seeing something different. Like, I get Sam Darnold didn't turn out really to be anything either, and he kind of got ruined. But, I mean, look at Justin Fields and the Bears right now. Like, you could be in that situation where everybody's like, oh, yeah, we know. Like, it's not like the Jets were like, okay, we know Zach Wilson is about to take this massive step. He's about to be like one of the best. He's going to be really good this year. We're super excited. No one was doing that with Zach Wilson like they were with Justin Fields. So, and
even Justin Fields does not look great this year.
That's my whole point. Like, you could be in that scenario where I kind of think the criticisms would be warranted. And it, to the point about the confidence thing, it's not actually, it isn't Zach Wilson's fault. I put it more on the coaching staff because.
And the O-line.
Yeah. I listened to, I heard Dan Orlovsky talk about this on ESPN. They need to take the training wheels off and quit treating him like a baby and stop saying, hey, your job is to go out there for 2 downs, either hand the ball off or check it down. And then on 3rd down, if it's 3rd and anything, it just make a miracle happen. It's like you need to start, basically what they need to do is just try and literally, okay, again, they need to I want to give them 2 more weeks before we need to do any of this, because they need to kind of reconfigure the offense, because the whole offense is based around Aaron Rodgers being quarterback. So first they need to have some time to kind of fix that around. So expect nothing these next 2 weeks. Play him, whatever. Don't just take these 2 weeks and be like, all right, we're going to try and fix the team around Zach now. And then after that, you need to say, Zach, I want you to literally go out there and pretend like you are a Hall of Fame quarterback. If you see the opening, throw the ball. If you think you can run. Just do whatever instinctual things you can do, because right now he's not allowed to use any instincts. It is literally just you do this, you do this, you do this, because we know you can't do all these other things. They don't know that. So you got to let him try to do all of these things. And then if he really sucks, you know he sucks. If you see flashes of potential, if you see him throw out an 80-yard bomb like he did in the combine or whatever, his pro day, Well, where was this all this time? Well, it's because they're not letting him do anything.
Exactly. They've treated him like he's a little kid the whole time. Like I was at the game when they played Dallas. That the score doesn't look good. His stat line doesn't look good. But like Evan said, the whole first half of the game was they just played him with training wheels. Like, okay, go out. Here's a short run, and here's a run, and then here's a check down. And it's like, oh wait, and then now it's 3rd and long, or here's a penalty by the O-line, or here's a sack that your team just gave up. And then it's like, oh, okay, Zach, make a miracle happen. And then obviously he's not going to make a miracle happen every single play. So then A, he's not throwing for yards because he's only throwing checkdowns. B, he has to make miracles happen, so his completion percentage looks like ass. They had one drive where they're kind of like, okay, Zach, go out there, do your thing. And he let him on a scoring drive. I think they got stalled. Like it was like 3rd and short. We tried to run the ball and got stuffed. So we kicked a field goal right before half. And then his pocket presence looked so much better. He was sensing pressure. He was stepping up and running. He was fitting balls in some tight windows. And even then, that was with 4 drops that drive, or not that drive, but that game too, where there were other times where it was external factors that made him fail the offense, I guess, air quotes around that. But then the 4th quarter is where it kind of went to shit. He threw a drive on 3 consecutive an interception on 3 consecutive drives. I'm sorry, I flipped that. But he goes into that quarter, and they're down 21 points, 20 points, and they're like, okay, Zach, make some miracles happen. And it's just every single play he's forced to make plays that aren't there. He's forcing balls into coverage. There's miscommunication between him and the runners. It's just not exactly what you're hoping for. And then you look at Zach and like, damn, Zach Wilson sucked ass today. 3 picks, 45% completion percentage. And it's like, well, you put him behind the 8 ball from the start, also having 4 or 5 drops from your receivers, never going to help.
And against probably the best defense in the league that had a healthy Trayvon Diggs at the time, which is important. So, yeah, he hasn't had any opportunity to succeed, I feel like, yet. And part of that he did bring upon himself. He did not play well past year or whatever. But part of that is also, I feel like, in a perfect world, I feel like the coaches need to sit the team down and basically say, hey, we messed up. We're going to take the blame for this. I know you guys, because they're very close to losing their locker room right now. Like
they're about to implode, is what the reports are all.
They are fed up with the whole situation, and they say it's all they don't like Zach Wilson, but I think the coaching staff is going to be, listen, we messed up. We haven't been coaching this team properly. This is not Zach's fault. If you really think about it, we haven't let him even try to be a quarterback because we've all been kind of pissed about the Aaron Rodgers thing. Everybody, just let's hit the mental reset. These next 2 weeks, we're basically just going to be like joint practice sessions. We're just treating these games like joint practices where we're going to try and reconfigure this offense around how we want Zach to play, and also see how Zach can play if we just let him do his thing. Run plays that throw the ball down the field, run play action stuff, because you have really good running backs. Use the run threat to make play action happen. Let him use his legs. Let him air it out a lot more. Like, just give him a chance. Let him basically showcase if he can do anything. And then again, after that, if he really has sucked, then yeah, you move on. But
exactly. And the reports are that Robert Salah's faith or whatever, I don't know what his stock in Zach Wilson, I don't know what word they use, but apparently his love for Zach Wilson have all the players pissed at him. But all these players, Aaron Rodgers said it best. He said that they just need to grow up and they need to not worry about all the external factors. I don't know what they're so pissed off about. Like, what can you do? It's week 3 of the season. There's not some superstar quarterback just waiting in the wings that can save your season. There's Tom Brady and Brock Purdy. Those guys, they're outliers. They're not like on every single team. There's not like you can pick up Colin Kaepernick out of free agency. He's just going to win you the Super Bowl. Right now, your options are Zach Wilson or Tim Boyle. And Tim Boyle's not winning you games either. So I don't know what the players expect the coaches to do, what the players expect the other like the front office to do. There are no options. Like, no one came into the season being like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to tear his Achilles after 4 plays." So I don't.
My only thing here is to be devil's advocate, of course, is the Joe Namath stuff. So to hear Joe Namath basically bash this kid when he has been like the most supportive Jets supporter of all time, and he has
kind of bashed the team the past few years though. Yeah, he's been a Zach Wilson hater since day one.
He's the ultimate legend, and yes, but he does not like Zach Wilson. There's something about Zach Wilson that he does not like. So I feel like there might be something, since I am not a football person, I just like to watch football, coming from one of the greatest quarterbacks, especially the greatest player the franchise has ever had, that maybe there is some truth in him saying that, because I do understand to some point the confidence thing. You got to have confidence in yourself if you want to have success in sports. That's just plain and simple.
Especially quarterback.
Yeah, and especially in some cases, regardless of the environment you're thrown into. Yes, I do think that Zach Wilson has been dealt an unfair hand, but at the same time, Michael Jordan got dealt a very unfair hand. He went to the worst team, basically the crackheads, and just said, you know what? I'm just do it myself. I'm going to look like I'm great even if we lose, but I'm going to try and make us win. I'm going to force us to win. Football, obviously very different than basketball.
Yeah, I was about to make that same point.
But if you're Zach Wilson, you can be like, all right, I'm going to go out here and throw this absolute 50-yard bullet pass to Garrett Wilson. If it gets picked off, it gets picked off. If he drops it, he drops it. But I'm just going to go out and basically say, I have to do this. And from playing basketball, when you have the confidence, then you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this step back shot that I would never take if I was not feeling good that day, like that kind of stuff. So at some point, Zach also needs to say, all right, I got drafted number 2 in the NFL. Clearly, I have some insane talent that only like 2 people a year ever get. I might as well just go try and see if I can still do it and just believe in myself, because at the end of the day, how can it get worse? That's the biggest thing. It can't get worse for you. So you might as well just go all out and just try and make something incredible, crazy happen. So, but what do I know?
Yeah, and I think that these 2 weeks are kind of perfect to do what Evan was talking about, because you got the Chiefs this week, you got the Broncos next week. The Chiefs are obviously a top perennial team. Let's be completely honest, they're probably going to start to run the score up, and then you kind of the second half where it's just kind of like, okay, it's garbage time, like what they did with Zach in the fourth quarter. Maybe game plan for that a little bit more beforehand, instead of just being like, oh shit, Zach, you have to make miracles happen. Like, kind of let him air it out and let that second half be his. Because if they play it the way they have been the first 3 weeks, it's going to end up being a blowout. And you have the Broncos next week that you can maybe, if Zach has a solid third quarter, fourth quarter, second half, you can start to compound that and just like let it snowball. And then you've got a bad team that you can kind of be like, okay, Zach, you can take this game over in the first half. And then even at the second half, you're probably not going to be out of it because the Broncos suck.
Yeah. So that's honest. So again, I know I said give him 2 weeks to kind of restructure the offense. Let him just basically take this week against the Chiefs. You know you're gonna lose. Don't just throw this one out the window. Try new things. It's purely just garbage time. Try your new stuff. Figure out what you want to do. When you play the Broncos, if you go out there, that is your best chance. That is probably going to be the best game chance to win the whole season. So you go out there, you do everything you can to the best of your ability to let Zach Wilson succeed. You tell him, trust every instinct you have to your own thing. We're going to call your plays, but if you line up and you see something different, you call an audible. We're putting this game in your hands. Go beat Denver. And if he beats Denver, great sign. Build on it. If he doesn't and he looks absolutely terrible and he can't score a touchdown on a team that just gave up 70 points, he's done.
I think it's going to help once you get Aaron Rodgers back into, because if you give him a mic and let him be in Zach Wilson's ear that whole time, that's big. Because having someone that you know is able to get through to Zach the way Aaron Rodgers has been able to, like if you watch Hard Knocks and if you've seen some of his preseason play and some of his stuff like first week, I guess when Aaron Rodgers was still like in the building, you can see that Aaron has an effect on him. Like if you get that back, like I don't know what type of relationship Hackett and Zach Wilson have, but if you give Aaron Rodgers that mic, it's kind of going to help too, because then you can kind of help him like you get him to the line early, you read the coverage better. Aaron Rodgers will be like, okay, you're looking at this, maybe check to this. Like I know that's what they said that when Sean McVay was with Jared Goff, that's what they used to do, because they would put Sean McVay was just so extremely smart and just like he thought so quickly, knew exactly what he was doing. They got to the Rams so quick to the line, they're like, okay, Jared, you're looking at this coverage, this part's going to be covered, this dude's going to be open, he's your primary read. If not, you're going to have this, and then if nothing's open, you check it to a run or like something like that. And that's why Jared Goff was a Pro Bowler went to Super Bowl. He was a Pro Bowler with the Rams. Like, he looked damn good. Now towards the end there, it kind of stalled out, but I think that once you get that first effect, like when people don't expect it, it's like, oh shit, like towards a little bit, then you kind of realize you can disguise some coverages, you know what the Rams are doing. But once you get Aaron back and he's doing that for Zach, then it's kind of, oh no, it's not Zach Wilson that doesn't know what he's doing. It's Aaron Rodgers playing through Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I would agree.
So do you have any surprise teams so far?
So teams that have surprised me, or
it can be
that
good or bad,
from here are going to be surprising.
I think teams that have surprised you so far, good or bad, or teams that you think will surprise you going forward.
So the Falcons are my surprise team that are better than I thought. You can maybe throw the Cardinals in there for beating Dallas and keeping it. I mean, they beat the Giants and then threw it away, and then obviously beating the Cowboys. So Both
the
of those
Giants, the
teams.
Cardinals actually played like close games. They barely lost to the Commanders. They pissed the game away against the Giants after being up like 20-0 or whatever, and then they beat the Cowboys. I think that's actually a way better start than what you thought you were going to have with Josh Dobbs as your quarterback. I'll admit, like Gannon's actually done a solid job.
Yep.
I mean, granted, you don't want to piss away that win against the Giants. You realistically should be 2-1.
Yeah. My disappointing team is Jacksonville so far. I think they still got time to figure it out, but I really thought that Trevor Lawrence was going to be an MVP candidate. And especially after that first game against the Colts with Calvin Ridley, it was like these two are about to just destroy the league. No one can stop him.
It looks so good. And since then, he's caught like 5 balls.
Yeah, it's been horrible. So rip my fantasy team because I picked both of them in like half my leagues.
I picked Ridley in a few. I don't have Trevor.
It's like, Ridley's gonna just get every single target because everybody all offseason was saying that he's just faster than he's on a different gear than every other human on the field. But hopefully they can start figuring it out. Hopefully, maybe in London he'll drink some magic tea or something and go off. But I feel like I expected a lot more out of Jacksonville. I've been happy as a homer with the Colts. It sucks that Richardson's getting hurt early. That's definitely scary, but seeing the talent that the guy has.
He's looked like a gamer.
He looks spectacular. He reminds me basically of Lamar Jackson. That ability, he's so big and strong, the ability to get out of the pocket and run, but he's got a freaking laser. I mean, I'm watching him throw like these 10-yard, 3rd down and 10 passes to whoever's open in the middle of the field, and that thing is a freaking bullet. Like I've never seen anybody throw the ball this hard. It's just freaking awesome to see. Like we might have struck gold for the 3rd time on quarterbacks in Indy, and it feels so good. But the injury is just scary, especially after all the stuff that happened with Luck. I'm like, he's already got what he had. Was it an ankle on week 1, and then
it was like he missed
the
a
concussion now, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But the team looks good. I mean, we kept it close with Jacksonville.
Beat the Texans.
Which that was a big game to win because
that was the one that
Stroud's supposed to be the best. Probably, I thought Stroud was going to be the best guy, and
that was the one where Richardson got hurt in the second quarter, first quarter.
Minshew Magic is back.
Stroud has looked pretty good though. Like I thought he's looked solid.
Yeah, I mean I thought he was the best quarterback in the draft. Obviously, he had that score on whatever that IQ.
The Wonderlic, he had like a 2.
Yeah, that he sucked up. But I was like watching him in college. He clearly was the most talented and the best quarterback. I felt like quarterback body. Obviously, I'd rather have Richardson, but that's not necessarily a quarterback body. I've had zero surprise about Bryce Young. He is too small, and they messed up.
And he's already missed a game.
Yeah,
like, it's not even like he got hurt for a few plays, came back out, already missed a full game.
Yeah, which again you could say the same thing for Richardson, but a concussion's a little bit different. Like that one, he was basically already guaranteed a touchdown, and the guy just happened to hit him head to head.
And even then, it's like it does not matter what body you have. A concussion's a concussion. Yeah. Like Bryce Young getting hurt with an ankle injury, that's like, oh no, that's cause for concern.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson getting concussion, it's like, oh okay. Like if Bryce Young missed a game with a concussion, you'd be like, oh no big deal, it's a concussion.
Yeah. But yeah, he just looks like a toddler out there. I mean, he is just so small. So
I think you said you thought Stroud was the best quarterback in the draft. Not to sound like braggy or anything, but I did say on the podcast last year that if I had the first pick, I'm taking Anthony Richardson.
Oh, that's what we all said. All of us said we would rather have Stroud. So because I wanted Stroud.
I mean, I said Richardson, but like
you said Richardson.
I said Richardson's the number 1 overall pick.
Oh,
if I was the Panthers, I was taking Anthony Richardson.
See, I would have taken Stroud first.
But he's looked good. If you look at some of his stats, some of the film from Florida, it felt like every play he had to make was just an insanely difficult one. Like, I don't know if you know who Theo Ash is. He's kind of big on Twitter and TikTok. Like, he breaks down a lot of film. And I have a friend who's a Florida fan, so I watch some games. And I've seen some of the Colts games this year. But Anthony Richardson looks a lot better. He's throwing for more yards and his completion percentage is higher because at Florida, they never game plan for, like, quick, easy throws. They're like, oh, Anthony Richardson, you're a game changer. Go out and change the game.
Yeah.
But, like, they still never gave him checkdowns. They didn't give him, like, easy throws. Like, oh, here, just throw the sticks. It's like, oh, throw this bomb or truck this dude.
Yeah.
So the Colts game planning up, like, simple plays for a young quarterback like you should has made him look a lot better. I think he's progressed a little bit. Like, his reads are a little bit solid. Like, you see some picks here and there, which obviously,
that just happens.
You're going to happen for someone who's a raw player and a rookie. But
for the team, it's so heartbreaking to see this team. Like, we just beat the Ravens with Gardner Minshew. Like, the team as a whole has the defense, the whole team has talent. They have grit. It is such a team. We just don't have the superstar quarterback. And that was the same thing back when Andrew Luck retired. It was like, we have the entire team to do this, and then the quarterback goes down. And I'm not saying like we're there right now, and obviously I don't even think Richardson's ready to take that
I
responsibility.
think he could make you a playoff team, but he's not
yeah.
a Super Bowl quarterback as a
No,
rookie.
not yet. But I
that's
could give him
insane
like
to
in
do.
2 years, I could see him being MVP. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has just so much upside. I hope we get him one more receiver. I hope we give him like Michael Pittman has actually been very good this season, but I hope we get him one guy if Chris Ballard would just suck it up and go pay for Devontae Adams, I wish we would go do something like that. Like just give him one guy that he can always just throw the ball to, because it'll help him want to be in the pocket more when he knows he can get the ball out to somebody that's just going to get himself open. Because right now I have been watching him. He is almost like, ooh, no one's open. When can I run? When can I run? When can I run? When can I run? And then he takes off. And it's like, I'm fine with that because the guy's a freak athlete and I want him to run just like I want Jalen Hurts to run if I'm a Philly fan. But at the same time, I also want to see him want to be in the pocket more. And not because I don't want to take away that run game, sort of like what's going on with Josh Allen, where they're almost like trying to slow him down running wise. And now we're seeing kind of that detriment. He's been on a tear right now.
But Josh Allen's the dude that he just eats hits unnecessarily.
Yeah.
I think that Anthony Richardson, they realize like, okay, he's eating some hits. He's got a big body, but like he's gotten hurt twice.
He's got to be smart.
In 2 weeks. But like Josh Allen, somehow he runs out there, gets drilled, gets back up, keeps playing. Like I think that they're scared that it's going to eventually catch up to
all
him.
it takes is one hit, so they got to teach him how to slide more. He has done a really good job just running straight out of bounds, like not even trying to take some guys. Granted, there was one run I think in the Texans game where he just freaking ran over a guy, and I love that. But
He did that
every time. It's just like, please don't just accidentally shove your shoulder into the socket the wrong way. Like it's just nerve wracking as a fan.
The run he had against the Jags too, that was kind of to put them on the goal line. The one that got him hurt, that was a gamer run. I think it was 3rd down, 4th down, and he steps up, like breaks a tackle, plows the dude over, gets the first to put him on the goal line. And to have a quarterback be like, damn, he's able to do it. And that's our quarterback. I mean, yes, he got hurt, but he ended up playing the next game. So it's not like it was like an insane. It was just kind of took him out because there was only a drive or two left. So it took him out for 5 minutes of a game, and then the next week he comes back. And he didn't look hobbled at all. I mean, he still ran for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns in like a quarter. It just a concussion happened, which is unfortunate. But I think my disappointing team has got to be the Bears.
Yeah, see, as a Colts fan, hate the Bears. I would have, even if the Bears were the number 1 team in the NFC, I would be giving every Bears fan in the world the business that they messed up one thing and that they wouldn't win the Super Bowl. It's sort of like the Cowboys. There's always something that's going to go wrong, and you always know it. So even if they're really good, it doesn't matter. So I did expect a lot more out of the Bears. I thought the Bears were going to be up with the Lions to win that division, and clearly they suck. Which I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So it's not a disappointment for me at all. But
it's like they're constant. Like everyone was just like praising Ryan Poles over the offseason. Like, wow, he's done such a good job. Justin Fields has made such a step up. Like he's made a big jump. Which, I mean, yeah, last year he did have those last like however many weeks that he looked good. But this year so far, he's thrown 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. It feels like he's so slow with processing everything. It feels like he either pulls off reads too quickly or hangs on them too long and then throws a terrible ball. It feels like he's just constantly just not processing, not making good reads. Honestly, Zach Wilson makes better reads and progresses quickly, like more quickly than Justin Fields does. Unfortunately, Zach Wilson just sometimes makes bad decisions when he does it. Justin Fields is just like, oh, let me pump fake this 6 times, and then I'm going to take off and run, which they also said they were going to start the play calling for Justin Fields to be more Justin Fields friendly, more design runs, maybe some more read options, but it feels like they just haven't done that. It feels like they're just all design dropbacks, then take off if you want, which is obviously he's still able to do that. But I think you got to keep them on your toes.
That's not going to get you any better, though. Like, letting him do that isn't going to improve your team in any way. And, I mean, that's the least of their problems. Like, they're just not good at football as a team.
Exactly. And Chase Claypool, that trade looks terrible now. I mean,
I said that was going to be a bad one.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's kind of like, what the hell are you doing? And it's looked worse than what you thought it was going to be because he looks like he does not give a shit. He hates being there. He's not trying. And then DJ Moore, I think he had one solid week, but it's like when Justin Fields can't throw the ball, how's your receiver going to do anything for you?
Yeah. And I feel like part of it, like obviously everybody deserves some blame there, including Justin Fields, but I feel like part of the progression problem is him knowing that his receivers are like a 1.5. They're not like they're not a dog. They're not a 2. they're not bad mid, like they're not ones. They're just a 1.5. So he's like, he knows that they're like just about to get open, so that's why he's taking that extra half a second to wait on that progression to see if they're gonna make that last little shimmy move and get open and break that guy. And then sometimes they will, but on those times it seems he's moved on to the next progression, and most of the times they're not, because they're not. It's like I guess they're not even a 1.5 to where it's half the time they make the 2 play, half time they make the 1. It's like a 1.4. To where you can't trust them to do the good move, but when they finally do the good move, you're not really paying attention to
And then it makes Justin Fields look worse.
and
Where
yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
damn, you had this guy
You just
open.
can't trust, because if they were bad receivers, like how Indy's receivers have been or Baltimore's receivers have been, then you're like, okay, you move through those regressions faster because you're like, all right, if he's not open now, he's not getting open, so I can just move on to the next guy anyway. Or if you have amazing receivers, like in how, well, granted, Kansas City's a tough one because Mahomes
They have Kelsey and
Mahomes
I guess
can just-
Tyreek a few years ago.
yeah.
It's just
So like
Mahomes makes them.
back when they had Tyreek, Kelsey, all those guys, like those guys are 2s. He's like, he can wait an extra second on the guy because he knows they're going to get open. Whereas Fields, doesn't know if they're not going to do it or if they are going to do it. So then he's in this constant state of hesitation.
Mahomes makes a lot more anticipation throws too. Like he knows, like, okay, this split second I can put this in this window right off this dude's break. Like he might not get as open as I'd like, but I can still fit this in. I'm not sure if you've like seen Justin Fields throwing motion like super in detail, but some guys in the NFL, which is what you want, obviously, they take the snap, they look around, they see dude, it's quick twitch. Like they kind of like their whole body just explodes. They throw a dart, they put it where they want.
Yep.
Justin Fields throwing motion, it's smooth, but he's so like elongated. Like he takes his hands separate a big long time. He gets like a big stride. Like it's not fast at all.
Yep.
So some of the times that's part of the problem where he sees a window. He's like, shit, like I'm too late on it, or I can't make this throw. Like he would almost have to have elite level anticipation with his throwing motion, which he's shown not to have because he doesn't make any of those throws. He's constantly just looking like, when can I run? When can I run? And then sometimes, even whenever he's looking to run, he makes the wrong decision. He'll be like, okay, pocket's collapsing, and then instead of just like trying to roll around the outside, he's like, let me step up into the sack. Like you can hang in there a split second longer, wait for this pocket to open up a little bit more, or you can just spin out around the edge or spin out around, get the edge, and then you go. It seems like sometimes you just step up thinking, I can break this, and then get sacked. Like just wait a second longer.
And part of that is the Bears just suck. So
yes,
he can't. Part of why he's thinking, when can I run, is because he's like, okay, I know nobody's going to get open unless my pocket stays open for this X amount of time. Oh, wait, never mind. My offensive line sucks. All right, I guess I'll just start running. Oh, there's the sack. So let's I do feel bad for him because the team is just god awful.
Even on defense, though, it felt like everyone was like, they're going to be so good on defense. Like they brought in TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, which everyone at the time's like, that's a really good pickup or whatever. But I don't think those dudes are like make your defense. Like, yes, they were already good players, but they were on good defense. You can't just take these two dudes and put them on a shitty defense and be like, okay, make the defense good now. It doesn't work that way. Some of these guys are good because of their environment. They can't take that environment, put them somewhere else and be like, okay, now we're just going to make them good.
Agreed.
But I don't know. I think that their secondary is solid. It feels like I think I saw something saying that they have the wrong part doing the heavy lifting. It's like they have a good secondary, but then they require their pass rushers. Like they're dropping people back and then their pass rushers only have like 3 dudes. It's like making them do the heavy lifting. But then they're not getting to the quarterback, so the quarterback has all day. Yeah. But it's like if you blitz more people and you let the secondary do the heavy lifting, like, okay, like we're bringing 5, 6, 7, 8 guys here. You guys hold this down, keep these dudes covered for the time we need to get to the quarterback. I think that's another thing that you need to do to maybe switch it around because if you're playing to your strengths wrong.
But part of that's also a system thing. You can do that more if you know your offense can score points. Because that's a risk, right? So that's the whole difference. Like people always go back and talk about like the 2006 Colts team. Their goal, they got Peyton Manning and like Harrison and
Dallas Clark,
Reggie Wayne, all these kinds of guys. We know we can go put up 35 points on just about anybody. So we're gonna go outscore you by 20 in the first half, and then just let our pass rush just destroy you because we know you have to pass. Mm-hmm. So then we're just gonna go. Whereas the Bears, it's like, well, we can try and blitz and do all this kind of stuff, but they're going to get a couple touchdowns out of it just by happenstance or luck or what have you. Somebody's going to make a great play because that's just, you're either going to do really great things and turn the ball over and make them 3 and out, that kind of stuff, or they're going to get a good play. Well, your offense isn't even good enough to cover up for that one play that gets through because your offense is scoring, like 12 points a game or something. So
Yeah. So if you had to make one last prediction before we kind of move on to you want to talk about the Ryder Cup, I'm going to do a little bit of talking about baseball. If you had to make one last prediction, maybe if you want to call like a dark horse for a division or someone you think is going to win the Super Bowl or like MVP, who do you got? What's your prediction for us?
Jeez. I've got to think NFC because I think the AFC's already kind of settled themselves pretty quick with just the Dolphins, and then obviously Kansas City's going to be up there. Buffalo's always good. I think the Chargers will finally turn it around this year in the AFC. But in terms of, like I said, going NFC,
Do you think that they have a chance to win the division over the Chiefs or no?
no, but I think they could possibly make the playoffs. Just because I think they're finally gonna stop being the Chargers, and what someone said it's been turned into a verb. Chargering is like now a thing for like just blowing leads and ruining.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Just terrible management. Yeah.
But in terms of the dark horse out of nowhere team. I mean, obviously you've only got like 3 teams up there with San Fran, Dallas, and Philly. I feel like maybe not this year necessarily, but I feel like Green Bay is going to rise right back up. Like, they have done it perfectly with Jordan Love. Let him play his own way. Let him learn a ton under Aaron Rodgers, do his own thing. They've got a decent team around him. They've got a good running game. They've improved the receivers. Like, Christian Watson hasn't even been there, and Jordan Love's looked good. So, like, that's my whole thing with, like, Justin Fields. I'm like, Justin Fields has decent targets, sort of. Maybe they're not doing so good now, but part of that's also probably because Justin Fields is not that great either. But I'm like, I thought the Packers were finally going to end that realm of terror. Obviously, Detroit, I think, is still the best team in that division, but I think the Packers are going to quickly creep up and take over Minnesota, and they're going to have to bust that up and lose JJ and Cousins and all those guys.
I think my dark horse is probably the Lions. I think that, I mean, everyone knows the Lions, like they barely missed out on the playoffs last year, but realistically, I think the Lions have actually a better shot to make the Super Bowl or like at least the conference championship than what people might think. To be like, oh yeah, the Lions are solid, but they've got some of their rookies are insanely good weapons. Like Sam Laporta is the leading receiver as a tight end right now as a rookie. Jahmyr Gibbs is electric whenever he touches the ball, but they haven't really been giving him the ball as much as you want. Like they're kind of building his workload up, and they've said that they're going to use him in ways you don't expect.
Yep.
So they know he's an ultimate weapon. You've got Amon-Ra already. Jared Goff has looked spectacular. This is probably the best he's looked.
Their McAfee called him a top 5 quarterback in the league today.
Pat McAfee?
Yeah.
Yeah, damn. But yeah, he's looked damn good. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it felt like he's kind of turned it around. The Lions offense is insanely good. And then even defensive-wise, I mean, they got C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's obviously a pretty damn good player. Aiden Hutchinson has been really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've just
got defense. I mean, this is the Detroit team Detroit has always wanted. They have a mean defense, and they've got a skill player, not necessarily pretty, or elegant, but a gritty but solid offense that can make very spectacular plays. Like it's not elegant in any way, shape, or form, but they're different and they're hard nosed and it's a strong team. It's kind of that blue collar thing. Like it is the perfect team for Detroit. I'm like finally excited to watch the Thanksgiving Day game. And because Detroit is worth something now.
And it's more well rounded than the years of the past, where it's like with the Lions with Matt Stafford and Megatron, like yes, they were good, but it's like you had Matt Stafford and Megatron, and it's like
name another player.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that this is their team that could possibly break the ice for the first time since the Megatron days.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. So if you want to get into your Ryder Cup thing, yeah. I've seen a little bit about it, but like Evan's our golf guy.
Yeah, not a ton to share. I'm very disappointed in the United States picks. I feel like they did a horrible job for a couple of those. I think they definitely should have looked more to live. Because I think some of those live guys might want to, again, kind of have a chance to kind of prove themselves for what they did and whatnot. I do like that they picked Ricky Fowler, mainly just because of the fan favorite, and I love Ricky Fowler, but he earned it with how he changed his game around this year. I do like the addition of Brooks Koepka. Again, the live guy, he won a major. Like, he deserves to be on that team. Good player there. It's really the biggest one for me is Justin Thomas and a little bit of Jordan Spieth. Spieth has been very solid this year. And I know both of them have also been pretty good in like one-on-one match plays kind of stuff. But I feel like they were just, and Wyndham Clark, that was another pick. I was like, Wyndham Clark really only had that one major win over Ricky, and that was it. So I was kind of like, come on, guys, we gotta be better than this. So those 3 guys, I feel like maybe they should have looked at a little bit differently, because Wyndham might have got in points wise, but I'm not sure. The other 2 I don't think did. They were the captain's picks or whatever, and the biggest one was JT, which my buddy's a big JT guy, but JT was just so bad all year. Like, he missed cuts in 4 out of 5 majors, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's awful. So maybe he'll finally have figured it out, and match play will get his head right and let him fix it and figure it out. He played pretty good in the last couple of events of the season to try and make the push into the playoff. But I don't know. There's zero. If you want to bet on golf, bet on Europe to win this thing, because between Scotty Scheffler and Brooks Koepka, I feel like the only 2 Americans this year that are pretty good. If you look at the European side, they are loaded. I mean, they are just going to freaking rail us this year. So
It feels like every time I see like a new golfer coming up, I'm always like, oh, what country is he from?
yeah.
Like, it's never America. Like, I feel like I have to ask that question.
And I mean, we have very good golfers, but I just looking at like individual matchups and looking at names and looking at how guys did this year. I mean, there's just Tommy Fleetwood is on that team. Matt Fitzpatrick is on that team. Victor Hovland has been insane all season. Shane Lowry plays good in this kind of stuff. They got Rory. They got John Rahm, 2 of the best in the world. Justin Rose, a super good vet. Sepp Straka, like, almost set one of the PGA records for scores this year. So they just have so many good players on that team. Their captains are pretty good. They got tons of veteran stuff. So I don't know. I'm interested to watch it again. Like, some of these guys like Spieth, JT, Ricky, like, those guys are like match play maestros, right? So sometimes maybe they're going to pull something out that's just unbelievable. But I'm pretty sure someone also said that we haven't won a Ryder Cup in Europe for, like, I don't even know, multiple years. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I can't say I keep up with golf as much as you do, but I'll be interested to see how it goes. I'll definitely try to keep up with it, like, just kind of check scores. I can't say I'm going to be watching it a ton. Maybe I'll bet on it a little bit. You never know. But we'll talk about this in the future, but future episodes, because we're kind of winding this one down. But based off of last year, my betting luck has changed a little bit. I'm not getting the worst bad beats every single time, but I am also not hitting every single bet. So, it's slowly making its way back, which is nice to see for my mental health and my wallet.
I'm on the rise. I do dollar bets. I went from $1. I'm up to $8.40 right now.
Uh-oh.
I know. I'm moving
You do like
up.
dollar bets on like a straight bet, or do you parlays big time? Like,
It's just straights usually. Like, I usually just wait till DraftKings does like the 50% profit boost, and so then I'll just find like a plus 100 bet that I'm like, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Bet it on that. So then if I win the dollar bet, it's like $2.50 or whatever. So
that's smart. I rationalize it to myself like in a way that's not good, because I'll be like, oh, dude, it's only $2-3. It's only like one drink at the bar or something. I make it something that doesn't seem that expensive, and then I'm like, screw it,
And
10 leg parlay. If I hit,
Yeah.
that's like $1,300, and then it doesn't hit, and I think the same thing the next day, and then the next day, and the next day, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm down $25 just betting a drink every day,
here's what you
and
do,
they never
like,
hit.
You just pretend like, do you drink coffee?
Yeah.
Okay, well then get rid of coffee and pretend like you don't drink coffee anymore. Be like, okay, I could be that person that wakes up every morning, goes to Starbucks and buys a $7 drink every day.
I brew my own though, so I don't spend money on coffee.
Okay, so then you're all right. So then there you go. Just pretend instead of going to Starbucks, you brew your own coffee, and the discounted money in between the two is your betting money for the day.
That's smart.
For
That's
your
smart.
parlays.
That's
then you
smart.
can put your like $40 bets on whatever you think.
Yeah, no, I if I'm ever throwing $40 down, it's either straight or it's like a 2-leg, maybe 3.
Yeah.
But I think I've thrown over $20 down on a bet like probably 2-3 times in my life, maybe.
Yeah.
I like to keep it more like sane, because I know I keep losing bets. So I'm like, oh, $40, fuck it, let me throw it on there, and then I lose it, because that's what happens to me every time, because then I get too confident. But so quick little rundown: the MLB playoffs are starting very, very soon. I believe we only have a couple days left of the season. Like, there are some teams that only have 3 games left. So right now, the playoffs are almost locked. There are a few spots that are being vied for. The Twins won the AL Central. The Orioles and the Rays have both clinched already. The Orioles and the Rays are both in the fight for the AL East title. The Rangers and the Astros are in the fight for the AL West. Mariners are still in play for a playoff spot, not looking good. They've absolutely pissed it away. They started to get hot after the second half started. They, I think, finally got a lead in the AL West back in, I want to say mid-August. They've been terrible ever since and are just kind of slowly hanging on. I feel like every time that I look at in the standings, be like, oh, how they played in their last 10? It's never better than 500. So they just kind of pissed that away. They're still only 4 games out, but, with 3 games left, it's not looking great. Like 4 games out of the division lead, but I think they're like a game and a half, a game back of the wild card. They're currently listed as like a 26% chance to make the playoffs, which like 2 days ago was like 60. So Braves are insanely good, clinched their division. Brewers clinched the NL Central. Dodgers have the NL West. So, Evan, you wrote down your picks from last year.
I did.
I believe I remember mine. There's, I think, one conference that I don't remember, but I can take an educated guess.
So, first of all, I got to say I let everybody down. I did not watch baseball. I tried so hard. I tried multiple times this summer because I was bored out of my mind. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and watch some baseball. And I couldn't do it. I was watching the game, and I'm like, I just can't watch this. This is just too boring. I tried so hard. Like, I watched the World Baseball Classic, and I loved it. I could watch baseball. And I tried watching MLB this summer, and I just could not do it. Granted, for playoffs, I might be able to watch some playoff baseball, but I tried so hard and just could not enjoy it. Granted, that proves why I went 1 for 6. I went Guardians, Yankees, Angels, Cardinals, Mets, and Dodgers, and hit Dodgers. So clearly, we know I am a great baseball announcer.
And out of those other teams that you picked, 5, the Dodgers clinched their division, which he was correct on. The other 5 are not even going to make the playoffs. The Mets are eliminated, the Cardinals are eliminated, the Angels are eliminated, the Cleveland's eliminated, and the Yankees are also eliminated. Which, I mean, I don't think that anyone saw the Mets implosion or the Cardinals implosion happening. But as a Cardinals hater, I love to see the Cardinals do that. But I don't know. I can't say I expected that. I think these are the picks I believe I took. I know I went Dodgers NL West. I'm a big Dodgers guy, so I think I probably said that there were other teams that had a shot, but I took Dodgers. I think I said the Cubs were my pick, which they are looking like they might get a playoff spot. It's currently up for grabs. I can't say the odds are in their favor, but they have a shot. They did not win their division. The Brewers did that. I believe I picked the Braves to win the NL East because that was like the smart pick the whole time. Or not smart pick, like the favorite pick, and they did just that. I know I picked the Mariners for the AL West, and I talked about them already. They cannot win the division. They may get a playoff berth. I think I picked Cleveland as well for the AL Central just because I like their pitching. I like J-Ram. I like some of the dudes in the lineup. Didn't finish with a winning record. Not going to do it. American League East, that is one that I wasn't sure who I took just because coming into the year, legitimately, I thought all 5 had a shot. If I had to take a guess, I would say I probably chose the Blue Jays. Or maybe the Orioles. Blue Jays is what I'm just going to say. The Blue Jays have a pretty good shot. They're listed at 90% playoff percentage chance. So they're probably going to be a wild card team. Didn't win the division. They're currently 12 games out. Baltimore Rays are currently vying for that. But yeah, I was sort of on point. I mean, most of my teams are in the playoff hunt with a few days left, are probably going to make the playoffs. So, that's a solid choice. I don't remember if we did like MVP or Cy Young picks, but
I would not have made any of those because
I think Cole and I might have talked about it a little bit. I don't know. That might have been off air too, that we just had conversations about. I think I kind of agree with you. Sometimes like I'll put a game on like regular season and I'll just kind of find myself going on my phone or I go do something else and I come back and I'm like, shit, forgot I had the game on. I think part of it helps that like keep me interested in the fact that I did a fantasy league this year. So I was kind of invested like, okay, I'm watching my player play or I'm watching my favorite team play or something like that. I think I have to rationalize it to myself. And sometimes I bet on it as well. But just sitting down watching a game that like no fantasy implications, they don't have Dodgers implications. I didn't bet on the game. I can do it, but there are some times where I definitely find myself getting distracted or finding myself just be like, oh, damn, I totally forgot I was watching baseball. Which, there aren't a lot of games that are like that I do that, but there are some that I find that way. But I feel like that could be the same for any sport. Like I feel Evan loves basketball. I'm willing to bet there's some basketball games he puts on. He's like, oh shit, I forgot I had that on, or this just isn't interesting to me.
Yeah, it's just every single baseball game. I just could not do it. Like I was like, all right, you know what? It's a Sunday night. They've been hyping up Sunday night baseball all week. This is an interesting game-ish just from the ESPN that I watch. I always see these teams on, and then I go to watch the game, and I'm like, this is just not it. It's just, even with the pitch clock, and I thought that was going to speed it up and make it a little bit better for me, but I was just like, my goodness. Like, I went to an Indians game this year, and for most of it, granted, it's not pro, it's semi-pro, but still, I was sitting there, like, even in person, like, this is not great.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what else there's. Yeah, looking like we're done with the episode for today. Cole should be back for the next episode. We can get a little bit more in depth with some more topics because Cole's here to kind of he's more of our jack of all trades guy. He's got more basketball than I do. He's got more like basketball knowledge than I do. He's got more NFL knowledge than Evan and I both, and he's got more baseball knowledge than Evan. So I think that he'll really contribute whenever he will be back. But I just want to end it off with saying, it's good to be back. Thanks for listening. And I also want to mention my parlay. I found a dude that I've been tailing on Twitter for this NFL season. It's actually been pretty good. I got Amon-Ra over 72.5 receiving yards, Luke Musgrave over 37.5 receiving yards, and Sam Laporta over 4.5 total receptions. That's what I got tonight. So he's pretty damn good. Like, he posted last week. He posted on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. And he normally posts, like, for the Monday and Thursday games, he normally does, like, probably 2 bets. But then on Sunday, he does, like, 4 or 5. And I think he hit all but, like, 1 bet out of the 8 or 9 that he did this past week. So me tossing that out to you, free pick if you listen with us this whole, like, hour 20, however long we have been. So
that's your mortal lock of the week.
I'm not going to say mortal lock because the last bet that I did tail him with, I did hit. I got to look to see what that one was. It was Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown. This is the Monday night doubleheader. Jalen Hurts scored a touchdown, which he had the push from the 1 yard out. Mike Evans over 57.5 total receiving yards. I think he finished with 60, so that one was close. And then Matt Stafford over 250.5 passing yards, which he hit, I think, on the last drive. So sort of sweating it out, but nice little $45 like in my pocket.
A hit's a hit, man.
Hey, you know what? As long as they do hit, that's very true. So, Evan, you got anything else to add?
I'm it. That's it.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Peace.